Assalamu alaikum guys, this is Dr. Fatima and today's topic of discussion will be pathophysiology of COVID-19 or coronavirus disease 2019. Let's discuss this pathophysiology as this is very important to know pathophysiology of every disease you read, because if you do not know the pathophysiology of any disease or pathogenesis of the disease, you're not going to treat the patients well. So let's begin with the pathophysiology of COVID-19 today. The topic of discussion is pathophysiology, and the goals of discussion will be routes of entry of COVID-19, pathogenesis of this disease, progression of this disease, and how it causes multi-organ dysfunction or multi-organ failure. So starting with the routes of entry. Guys, this disease or this virus is transmitted via different routes of entry. Top of the list are, nose, mouth and eyes, and less importantly fecal-oral route. The common thing in the three routes, which are the nose, mouth and eyes, is the mucous membrane. It can transmit via nose when a person who is having coronavirus disease is going to cough in front of a healthy person. So healthy person is going to take that virus via his mouth, nose or eyes if they are not properly covered. So, or via fecal-oral route, if a person who is having COVID-19 and he passes stool and he is not taking care of his hand hygiene, he is going to transmit this infection to the other persons who are going to use the same bathroom and going to touch those surfaces and then having that disease from the surfaces. So important thing is that it can transmit via different routes, and you have to cover yourself and you have to keep the hand hygiene as the most essential component of prevention. Let's discuss the pathogenesis, which is very important because you have to treat the patient, and if you want to treat the patient really well, you have to know the pathogenesis really well. So let's begin with the pathogenesis today. Okay, we are going to start with the entry and multiplication of the coronavirus. What happens is that the coronavirus enters your body via your mouth or nose, and it's going to enter your lungs and going to target the type 2 pneumocytes, which is the type 2 alveolar cells. So the target cells for coronavirus is type 2 pneumocytes. Then we have target receptor. I mean to say which receptors the coronavirus is going to act on, and which are the gates of coronavirus to type 2 pneumocytes. There are two receptors, namely ACE2 and transmembrane serine protease type 2. These are the two very protein receptors which are the gates for coronavirus into the alveolus. What happens is that then there must be some protein, there must be something which is on coronavirus surface which is going to anchor it to the type 2 pneumocytes. So these are the anchoring proteins, namely spike proteins and hemagglutinin esterase proteins. Guys, two things are new in this very slide: the transmembrane serine protease type 2 as well as hemagglutinin esterase protein. These are the two new discoveries which have been just recently discovered in the research, because this is a very new disease for the whole world, and researchers are doing their research and discovering many things every day. So these two things are very new to my knowledge, and I am just sharing it with you all. Okay, what happens when coronavirus enters the cytoplasm of type 2 pneumocytes? Okay, you can see an orange colored coronavirus, and it is going to target the ACE2 and TMPRSS proteins, and it's going to enter the cell. Now when it enters the cell, what happens is that the ribosome takes its RNA and does two things. Either it's going to make RNA dependent RNA polymerase via transcription of the RNAs. I mean to say that new RNAs are being made by ribosomes via RNA dependent RNA polymerase enzyme. This is the enzyme which is going to make many copies of the same RNA. And the other thing is that ribosome is going to make proteins, which process is called as translation. And these proteins are the polyproteins, they are the macromers. and these proteins are going to be acted upon by proteinases. These are other enzymes in the cytoplasm. What happens, these proteinases break these polyproteins into the small proteins, and these small proteins are going to be the structural or functional units of coronavirus. Maybe, you know, spike proteins, M proteins, hemagglutinin proteins. There are so many proteins which COVID-19 has, and these all proteins and the newly transcribed RNA, both of them are going to unite, as well as they are going to take the cell membrane from the Golgi apparatus. They are going to, you know, make you know, a vesicle, and via these vesicle the whole structure is made, and these many, you know, tons of COVID-19 are going to, you know, enter the bloodstream or enter elsewhere. You know, they are going to be made by single coronavirus which entered the cell pneumocyte type 2. So this is the basic an event which happens when the, you know, COVID-19 enters the cell, and, you know, it is multiplied many times. This is another diagram. You can see in this diagram, they have not shown the tempress protein, but they have only shown the ACE2 receptors. And this SARS-CoV-2 or coronavirus 2019, it's entering the cell, it's fusing with the membrane, and, you know, it's going to uncode the genome RNA, and this RNA is going to the ribosomes, and there is replication and translation. Many proteins are being made, and, you know, many an RNA is being made, and from this very thing it's going to, you know, Golgi apparatus, and from Golgi bodies it's going to take vesicle, and these ribosomes and these newly made proteins and the vesicle are going to make, you know, new virus, and this virus is being released from, you know, the cell. Okay, so progression of the disease is that as we started with the entry and multiplication of the virus, now what this virus is going to do with the alveolus, and the lung, and then the other organs of the body. The progression of this disease in the alveolus is called as cytokine storm. And why is it called so? Because there are many cytokines produced in the type 2 pneumocyte when it encounters some COVID-19. So I have a pneumocyte type 2 which is having coronavirus, and when it sees there is some coronavirus inside me, it's going to activate three things. It's going to release interferon alpha and interferon beta. These two interferons are going to produce antiviral peptides, which are basically a part of our immune mechanism. The other thing is DAMPs and cytokines. DAMPs are basically damage associated molecular patterns, and the other thing is cytokines. You know, when the cytokines and damage associated, you know, molecular patterns are going to be released, they are going to activate the macrophages. Macrophages now are going to release many, you know, cytokines and inflammatory mediators, namely interleukin 1, interleukin 6, interferon gamma, TNF alpha, and interleukin 8 as well. What they are going to do? They are going to do three things. First thing is increasing vascular permeability. Other thing is neutrophil and macrophages recruitment and cellular damage. Third thing is procoagulant activity increase and anticoagulant activity decrease. So how do they do that? Starting with increasing the vascular permeability. What will happen when the vascular permeability is increased? The capillaries of the, you know, alveoli, they are going to be leaky, and they are going to leak their fluid out of capillary into the interstitial space, and it is going to lead to interstitial edema. Some of the fluid in the interstitium, it can enter the alveolus as well, and it's going to you know, add to the injury and producing alveolar edema. Okay, the other thing was neutrophils and macrophage recruitment. Well, when there is increased vascular permeability and vasodilatation by these cytokines, neutrophils are going to be recruited. What happens is that there are some VCAMs, which are vascular cells, adhesion molecules. These molecules, their expression is increased on the site of injury, and these are the, you know, points of adhesion for neutrophils and macrophages, and via these two things the neutrophils are going to be recruited to the injured cell, which is type 2 pneumocyte in this discussion. When these neutrophils and these macrophages are going to enter, they are going to be further activated, and the main, these interleukins and these cytokines are going to activate them as well. And a special interleukin which I want to mention is interleukin 8. This is basically the interleukin which is going to activate the neutrophils, and these neutrophils are going to produce the reactive oxygen species as well as proteases. These are the two chemicals which are going to produce cell damage, and this cellular damage does not know that if I have to damage type 1 cell or type 2 cell, it's going to basically engulf both the cells. It's going to damage both the cells, I mean type 1 and type 2. And what will happen if the type 1 cell is damaged? There is less gaseous exchange, there is less oxygen inside the cell, and more carbon dioxide in the cell because there is no gaseous exchange. It's going to increase the hypoxemia, and it's going to do hypercarbia and type 1 to type 2 respiratory failure and respiratory acidosis. Okay, the third thing I mentioned that these cytokines are going to do is procoagulant activity. They are going to increase the procoagulant activity as well as they are going to decrease the anticoagulant activity. When these two things are going to happen, it's going to lead to pulmonary embolism. This is the very new research, and if the pulmonary embolism has is the prognosis, if the pulmonary embolism has been done via the COVID-19, it's going to have a very poor prognosis, and it's really lethal. Okay. Rest of the thing are the leukotrienes and prostaglandins. These are the two other molecules which are going to be secreted by the type 2 pneumocyte. When the leukotrienes and prostaglandins are produced, they are going to do two things. One is they are going to activate your vagus nerve, and they are going to activate the cough reflex. Or when cough impulse is generated, or cough reflex is generated, the patient is going to have dry cough. Some patient, I mean 30% of the patients can have the productive cough as well. The other thing these leukotrienes and prostaglandins are going to do is bronchoconstriction. When you have already got a patient who is having tachypnea or respiratory distress due to hypoxemia, he has got type 1 and type 2 pneumocyte damage. Now you just constrict his bronchi as well, so there is even more injury to the person when there is bronchoconstriction superimposed on already type 2 respiratory failure. So this is the problem. This is the cytokine storm, and this is the progression of COVID-19 disease within the alveolus. We are going to discuss it in further detail. What will happen by the neutrophils? I am just going to have a rapid review of neutrophils. What happens? Neutrophils are recruited, and they are going to produce reactive oxygen species as well as proteases, and these proteases are going to do alveolar cell damage. Come on the right of the slide, we have two things: type 1 cell damage, which is going to lead to poor gaseous exchange, and type 2 cell damage, which is going to lead to loss of surfactant. When there is a loss of surfactant, there is loss of cellular architecture. Okay, so a patient who is having alveolar edema as well as atelectasis, two things at a time. Okay, when the cellular damage is there, the cell is going to having to have a consolidation, and the consolidated lung is having cellular debris in it, and it's going to further decrease the gaseous exchange and producing cough. The last thing is hypoxemia and hypercarbia, because when there is type 1 cellular damage and there is very less cellular gaseous exchange, the hypoxemia is going to increase the work of breathing, hypercapnia, and it's going to produce respiratory acidosis as well as respiratory distress. Okay, you can see in this picture that we have got a normal alveolus and a normal capillary around it, but when the cytokines worked, they increased the capillary permeability, and the capillary became leaky, and there is bilateral traffic of fluid. The increased vascular permeability is going to fluid extravasation and alveolar flooding with the inflammatory infiltrate. Also, in the last picture we can see the loss of surfactant, which has done the loss of architecture of your alveolus. Okay, so it's going to increase the further injury. Okay, now we are going to discuss multi-organ failure in coronavirus disease. So when the COVID-19 is going to enter your body, it's not going to enter only the lungs, it's going to affect all of the body organs, namely brain, liver, kidneys, heart, and blood. In the brain, when interleukin 1 and interleukin 6 and TNF alpha, when they go to brain, they are going to activate hypothalamus and they are going to increase the body temperature, which is fever. So the patient will be febrile. And if you see a patient who is having COVID-19 and he is jaundiced, and or if the patient is having increased ALT or AST or increased bilirubin, so you should imagine that this patient is having multi-organ failure, particularly affecting the liver via COVID-19, and this liver is going to produce different acute phase reactant, for example C-reactive protein, LDH, fibrinogen, and interleukin 6. These are the four markers which are bad prognostic markers. If you see these four things in a patient's blood who is having COVID-19 positive, you will see that this patient is going to have a very poor prognosis. Okay, in the gut, the patient may be having abdominal pain, diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. In the blood, as I already described in the previous slide, that in the blood there are going to be increased procoagulants and decreased anticoagulants, and when this happens, the picture is disseminated intravascular coagulation, because there are going to be many thrombi in the whole bloodstream, and the patient is going to really suffer with a bad prognosis as well. Okay, taking the heart, for example, now how does COVID-19 affect the heart? It's going to decrease the cardiac function, and I mean the myocardial cells are really going to be very weak, and the heart is going to be having cardiomyopathy, as well as SIRS, which is systemic inflammatory response syndrome. Via this SIRS, what happens is that there is a decreased blood volume due to vasodilatation and decreased total peripheral resistance. This is going to decrease the blood pressure. This decreased blood pressure is going to decrease perfusion, and the patient is going to be in shock. Okay, now how does it affect the kidneys? The kidneys are going to having decreased function. They are going to produce less urine, which is oligonuria, or they may not produce any urine at all. So this is also because of the decreased perfusion and decreased urine output, and it's lead to increased urea, increased creatinine, and increased blood urea nitrogen. So this is how the COVID-19 is going to affect your multiple organs. One thing I didn't mention is that it is also going to affect your olfactory nerve or olfactory pathway, and the patient may have difficulty in smell sense, and also difficulty in taste, because it's going to enter your mouth, and it's going to affect your gustatory pathway, and then it's going to have an altered state of altered sense of taste as well. Okay, so these are the two things I didn't mention in here, and this is all about this multi-organ failure for today. Thank you very much, guys. Do subscribe the channel, and do share the channel, and if you don't understand anything, do let me know. Thank you so much.